Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Cooper, thank you for being here, and thank you for staying as long as you have. Mr. Cooper, in Secretary Clinton's New York and Washington, D.C. homes, did she have a personally owned desktop computer inside the secure areas or the SCIFs?
We discussed earlier there were Apple iMacs in both homes that I know were in the rooms that became SCIFs, predating their time becoming SCIFs.
How do you know that?
Before they became SCIFs, they were both offices which I had the occasion to work out of.
And you said what kind of computers were they?
Apple iMacs.
Who was able to open them?
They were there for the purpose of staff visiting the home or the staff that worked in the homes.
Was it ever left unsecured?
Unsecured meaning, I'm sorry.
Just left out to where someone could get to it?
These were personal computers in their homes secured by the Secret Service.
And who did you say had access to it? Just
the Clinton family and their staff.
And their staff. Let me ask you about two occasions in 2011 where you were concerned that someone was trying to hack into Hillary Clinton's private email server. What made you concerned that someone was trying to hack in, as described in an email you sent to Huma Abedin?
I think my concern at the time was I was colloquially using the word hack to describe what was a multiple failed login attempt on the server, and what I was really conveying to her, less so of the concern of that activity and more so that we were dealing with it by shutting down the server for a period of time, and so she should expect her email to be offline for a period of time.
So later on that day, you emailed Ms. Abedin, and you said there was a second attempt. In fact, you said, we were attacked again, so I shut the server down for a few minutes.
Yes, again.
Help me out. Whenever I think of attack on a computer, I think that's somebody who's trying to get in unauthorized.
I understand. I was using very colloquial language.
Very colloquial language.
Correct.
So that's not what you meant when you said attack? That someone was...
These were multiple failed login attempts on the server.
But wouldn't you describe that as someone who's trying to get in unauthorized?
I would describe it as someone who was trying to get in unauthorized, yes.
So was it the same attempt as was the previous day?
I can't recall whether it was the same attempt or being able to determine whether it was the same type of...
Did you shut the server down on that day in January of 2011?
To the best of my recollection, based on the emails that you have, you're describing, yes.
Why? What good would that have done? What was the purpose in doing that?
My understanding was that these were automated attempts, and once they did not ping a server on the other side, they would stop. And that seems to be the practice of what happened.
We've had reports, and we've read numerous reports, that Mr. Palagano arranged for you to receive notifications when there were attempted hacks on the server. Did you receive any notification of any attempted attacks on the server?
What Mr. Pagliano had set up were alerts to alert me if there were any failed login attempts, which could be from users or non-users.
Okay, I'm struggling here. Tell me the difference between a failed login attempt and a hack.
So a failed login attempt is very simply when someone tries to log into the server in one form or another, into an account or to the server itself.
Okay. All right, what's an attack?
I'm sorry, with a username or a password that's not valid. So that could be a legitimate user who's mistyped their password, or legitimate users whose password has expired.
Okay, I get that. Just define an attack for me then.
Again, the word attack is colloquial.
No, describe what you would define attack as.
Multiple failed login attempts, trying different usernames in no specific pattern.
Would you agree that most people describe attack as something much more than that?
I would agree with that.
Okay. We've been told, and we've discovered that Hillary Clinton's old phones were destroyed with a hammer. With a hammer. Were these phones connected to the private email server in question?
Yes, I described earlier that when Secretary Clinton would transition from one device to the next, we'd take the old device, back it up, make sure all of the content was transferred onto the new device, linked with the server, so any information that came from the server was on the new device. Then, once that was completed, wiped the old device using the BlackBerry tool to do so, and then on occasion I would render them unusable.
Why did you use that kind of method? It seems somewhat, if you will, barbaric. I mean, a hammer to a phone?
I think it's practical to not just throw a cold device into some sort of garbage receptacle where someone might pick it up out of curiosity and try to use it.
Okay, you know, I mean, here we are, and with all due respect, sir, the definition of an attack that you have and the definition of attack that I have, and I think most people have, are completely different. And then, you know, we're taking an old phone and destroying it by a hammer, with a hammer. Were you instructed to do that?
No, that was not something I was instructed to do.
But you say that was normal procedure? Is this the way you do away with everybody's old phones?
I felt that that was a good practice at the time.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I've exceeded my time, and I yield.
The gentlewoman is yielding back. We'll now recognize the gentleman, Mr. Smith, who's the chairman of the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. We're pleased to have him use seat on today, and we're thankful for the close working relationship we have with the committee. We now recognize him.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for inviting me to attend today's hearing to examine the security of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's private server. Secretary Clinton's unique server and email arrangement is of particular importance both to your committee and to the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. The Science Committee has a responsibility to examine ways in which executive branch departments and agencies and private entities can improve their cybersecurity practices. As part of the Science Committee's ongoing investigation, I have issued subpoenas to 3 of the companies that performed maintenance and security work on Secretary Clinton's private server. 2 of the companies who received lawfully issued subpoenas for information related to work they performed for former Secretary Clinton, Platte River Networks and SecNap, Inc., have refused to produce responsive documents. Both companies have purposely misinterpreted the plain language of the subpoena, and both companies have stated that they do not have responsive materials, which is demonstrably false. Unfortunately, these companies' decisions to obstruct the committee's investigation and defy a lawfully issued subpoena continues a Clinton habit of secrecy rather than transparency. In fact, just this morning, and this may be of interest to the gentlewoman from New York who just spoke, SecNap's counsel confirmed to my staff that the Clintons' private LLC is actively engaged in directing their obstructionist responses to congressional subpoenas. This is a clear obstruction of justice. Americans deserve to know the truth, which is now being blocked by the Clinton organization. One of the companies, Datto, did provide responsive materials to the subpoena. These documents have shed light on the unique arrangement undertaken by Secretary Clinton to set up a private server. This includes the lack of even basic cybersecurity measures applied to the information stored on the server, such as encryption. It is inconceivable that a Secretary of State who is entrusted with our national security secrets would not take every available step to safeguard our nation's classified information. The information sought through the investigations of the Science Committee, the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and Senator Ron Johnson of the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee is crucial in determining the degree to which our national security was unprotected and perhaps endangered. I look forward to continuing to work with you, Mr. Chairman, and appreciate all the good work you have done. And if it's all right, I have a couple of questions for Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper, first of all, thank you for being here today and being willing to answer questions. You deserve credit for being willing to do that, and that compares to those who refuse to appear today and answer questions and apparently are not interested in helping us try to find out the truth. Let me ask my first question, which is that, as you heard me say a minute ago, we heard this morning that SecNap's counsel has said that the Clinton Executive Services Corporation, in effect, is obstructing at least my committee's subpoena. Do you think this is standard practice for the Clinton Executive Services Corporation? I'm sorry?
I'm not in a position to comment that or have any knowledge of that situation.
Have you seen any other instances where SecNap has tried to prevent information from getting to a committee?
I'm not aware of.
One way or the other?
I'm not aware at all.
Okay. Many of the documents provided by Datto Inc. include communications with Platte River Networks. Should Platte River Networks have information in its possession about its work related to former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's server?
And my interaction with Platte River Networks was simply handing over some usernames and passwords, and that was the totality of the interaction that I've had with them. I've never had any interaction with them beyond that or with Datto.
And can you say whether or not they are likely to have information about the server or not?
I have no knowledge.
Okay. What information, again, have you handed over to them?
I'm sorry, I handed over some username and passwords to them at the beginning of the transition process.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That completes my questions. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of your committee's hearing today.
Well, thanks, Chairman. We do appreciate it.